Hey guys, happy Friday. It is Fight Talk Friday, and we are with a fight legend, my man, Mr. Rich Clementi. If you don't know this guy, look him up, and you will be impressed by the resume. My son was asking how many fights you had this week, and he looked it up. He couldn't believe the number of fights you've had all over the world, and so we are excited to have you here on the show. And you and I were talking last weekend when we were in Vegas for the McGregor fight. You called it at the walkout. I wish I'd have bet the farm as soon as you said there's something wrong with him when he walked out to the ring.
Yeah, so, I hate talking about that, that event. It bothers me on a deep level. But it was crazy because I spent a lot of my career, looking for those chinks in the armor, And it was funny, when I used to fight, I would never allow my corner man to stand right in front of me because I would like to watch my opponent the whole time.
Right.
And I would look for that, look away, that disconnect from the moment, that heavy breath, that sigh, And I trained myself to do that for 15 years. So much so my sons even hate it because when they compete, I could tell instantly by the look in their eyes walking out on what type of child I'm going to get, what type of competitor I'm going to get. So yeah, it was one of those things. Everybody was out there, and as soon as I seen him kind of stumble on the side of the cage, I was like, something's not right. I mean, he's a showman, and for it to be that much off, I was like, whew, this is going to be terrible.
Yeah.
And nobody believed me while I was sitting there until the fight started. But it's tough. You're talking big money. We can all just wonder the scenario built around that, I guess. But it's just terrible because a lot of people paid a lot of money. This guy to go out there. I'm so glad because I almost went out there. I was close.
Your son was wrestling in nationals at Fargo's. The only reason y'all weren't with us.
I would have went out there actually just for the experience. But I was so glad. The first thing I actually thought about I was like, oh, Brandon's gonna be so upset. But luckily though, I was at his the Aldo fight.
Yeah.
And that was just unbelievable. I thought the place was gonna explode. I feel bad for a lot of people that were looking for that experience. I mean, it really did the fans a big unjust. And even myself, I tore every single ligament in my knee back in the day fighting at Trump's Casino in New Jersey, big tournament out there. Yeah, and I tore it in the first period, and I wound up winning a decision. I wound up winning a decision. So. I think when people make that much money and you're at that part of your journey, it might be tough to dig deep like that. I also think that had a little bit to do with it, But, so be it.
Yeah, I told Asher, ultimately it was an amazing, we took my sons and we had a boys trip, and Asher looks to me the first night we're cruising around with the top down. I think Vegas is my favorite city, Dad. He's just enjoying the energy, the lights, and just soaking it in. So, beside the main event, it was an amazing time. All the prelim fights were great, but watching the walkout when I rewatched it, live in the arena, I didn't see what you saw on TV.
Mm-hmm.
And then
I think I even texted you that, did I not?
Yeah. You said something was off, and I remember hearing later that someone just before the fight bet a $900,000 bet on Holloway, and I'm like, shit, I wish I'd have pulled out a freaking loan and put the house on it, because it was obvious when I watched the ring walk, and when I watched, because I was at the Poirier fight 5 years ago with McGregor, and watching the video, Asher and his brother and I this week again, we were just talking about the ring walk.
Yeah.
And we watched his ring walk for multiple fights leading up to in the Poirier fight 5 years ago. Two different animals coming into the ring. Like you said, the eyes, the expression, the confidence, the swag, even his gorilla walk. We said it at the fight. We go, he looks stiff. His gorilla walk looked more like me impersonating it than the old McGregor, where he really, it's his walk. I can't do it as good. When he did it at the Holloway fight, it looked like me impersonating it.
Yeah, so, and let's take fighting out of the conversation. But when we just look at being competitors in general, people talk about like the warm up, right? But the warm up is really two different things. The warm up is like, hey, what do you do an hour before the football game? Like when the whole team's out there and stuff. But then you have a very specific like mental check-in. And my boys know how specific. This is a huge place of conflict in my household, because like if they don't do it and they don't mentally check in, I can see a difference in their overall performance.
Right.
And Cash had a really good competition at Fargo this week. He's got 2 more. Last week he's got 2 more years. That's my youngest son. He's 14, but he wound up losing against the kid that plays 3rd and the kid that plays 5th. But his very last match, I seen kind of talking about that stiffness, that kind of deer in headlights stare. He wasn't doing his normal pre-game warm-up, meaning that's like the 5 minutes right before you step on the field or right before you get in the ring. And good enough, it took a whole period for him to warm up.
Right.
Second period, he wound up scoring all his points. He was a little bit behind in the deficit, and it cost him.
Yeah.
So, I think establishing that, having that regular warm-up, but specifically focusing on, and that was a big thing for me as a competitor. Like that was like, I would actually say out of the whole situation of training for competition, that 5 minutes before I actually stepped in there was the most excitement I would have out of the whole journey. Not in there, not afterwards, but that 5 minutes right before it just created a feeling in me. And that's why, I won a lot of fights, I've lost a few, but everyone's always loved seeing me fight, because that's the type of, like, you always got that addressed energy, that prepared energy. And when it's not done right, especially when you're competing on the high level, it's easy to identify when it's lacking.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, rewatching it now, like, I think they were hiding that injury. Definitely, the conspiracy, the footage of him leaving the pain management clinic the week before. I think all of that, like, the knee was compromised, and that's why you could see the different look in his face.
Yeah.
And he's not hungry like he was when he was on the come up to fight through that injury.
Yeah, he's regardless, he should have still, in my opinion, right? And I'm kind of like an old school MMA guy. Like when you first started fighting in the UFC, like way back in the day, specifically when it started getting traction, my first UFC was like UFC 76 maybe, I think, or something like that. Whew, a long time ago. But it was a deal. Like my generation, like if you tapped, you like weren't getting invited back to anything. Like promoters weren't looking to use you again. And now you have guys shelling up, like turtle position, and it's widely accepted where it wasn't accepted in that way. So, for him just regardless of the injury, just to go out like that was a little disheartening.
Yeah, I joked with Ash. I said, well, I know your dad's tougher than McGregor now, because I did a local. I've got a torn ACL, and it had been bothering me.
Yeah.
And I fought a whole tournament, 4 matches, and won 3 out of the 4. And like he watched me fight, and I was like, my knee hurt a lot, but it wasn't going to just stop for the day.
When that is your job, right? And and it doesn't matter. I'm sure we'll get into this later on in the podcast, but when you have a job, it's a certain expectation that comes with that, and anything less than is not acceptable.
Yeah.
And I feel like that he just didn't meet the expectation.
Yeah, no, not for 20 or 30 million. Arguably, what he got paid. I could fight through ACL for $30 million. So it's sad because, like you said, the build-up.
It puts a stain on the sport.
And you have the stain on Dana and him now, and I love the UFC. We are diehard UFC fans. We'll go the next, we'll watch it.
Yeah.
It's not like we're boycotting. We're going to watch every one of them. But it was like, did they know?
Yeah.
Did they sell us out?
And coming up with Paramount, coming off the UFC event, golly, it was 2 back-to-back just huge events. So to really reduce that steam and momentum was
the White House.
Yeah.
How awesome was the White House?
Oh, you could not have scripted that event to go any which way any better. And there was a lot of luck on the side of the event with the weather and stuff like that.
Yep.
And just the honoring of the troops. I'll tell you, if you didn't feel like an American that day,
Could you have gone as a former UFC fighter and military, like retired military?
Yeah, no, that's one thing. The UFC treats it like a business, and I get it. I mean, if they,
I hear that was a hard ticket to get for the White House. It was like invite only.
If they open that up to everybody that stepped a foot in the UFC, they'd have a whole section just with ex-fighters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I mean, I get it, it's a business, but glad to have been part of that journey.
Yeah, no kidding. And epic journey, and we've talked a lot, and you and I have gotten closer in the last couple of years on the business side of life, and working on some business ventures together now. Let's talk like going from the fight preparation, because I think athletes usually make great business people. People who've been at that high level, collegiate, pro. Like, you obviously went to the highest level in MMA that you could go to. So let's talk about that. Like the mindset, the work ethic, like what it took. Because I remember you fighting at local stuff here in Baton Rouge.
Yeah, I just fight because I like to fight.
To becoming a UFC Hall of Fame legend. Did you make the Hall of Fame yet?
No, not in the UFC. Louisiana, I'm in their mixed martial.
You should be in the UFC Hall of Fame too. I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, I probably haven't earned what some of those guys have, but what's awesome is that I was a catalyst for a lot of those guys, and like people joke around and be like, you're the godfather of martial arts or Louisiana, but it does make me happy to know that like I had a very good chapter in almost every one of these guys that have kind of come through the UFC. That they can't really they can't tell their story without mentioning our name or something that we've done in there and stuff like that. And there's things I'm really proud of. I mean, I remember, and the sports stuff, and it has its ups and downs, but, it's like there was one time where Tim Crater, who, of course, was Dustin's main coach, so, right, if you break lineage and lines, like everything's different, but like Tim was really kind of done with the sport. It's brutal, especially at that time. We weren't really making the money we needed to be making. And, I remember him coming up to me. He's like, "Hey, Rich, like, I think I'm kind of done." You know? And I was like, dude, I just made really good friends with the producer of Ultimate Fighter. I'm like, you're a very intricate guy. I'm like, let me see what I can't do for you. So I totally pitched him to the producer on Spike TV.
Oh, that's good.
They did an interview with him, and they absolutely loved him.
He's got such a good personality.
And then that re-energized his career back into that. So,
awesome.
so to know that like I assisted with that kind of fork in the road. And the list goes on and on. There's a lot of guys that I trained and stuff like that. But transitioning from mixed martial arts or really being a professional athlete in general, I think I get asked this question a lot, and I tell people, I'm like, I really am for work without words, and that's, you can see where I'm at right now on why some of these guys struggle so badly taking who they were as martial artists or professional athletes and transitioning into the civilian sector. Because what I tell people all the time, it's like it wasn't that I was leaving that, like I defined that space didn't define me. So in other words, like I just changed arenas. I took the same work ethic, the same intensity, the same, killer, I'm going to win at all costs, commitment, all of those things, and I just brought them into another sector. And most generally, I would say specifically because being in medicine, I ran a distributorship and device sales for many, many years, and we had one of the most profitable, huge footprint in this region of the United States. And that's what me not having any experience going against very tenured, competition against very big companies that had, unlimited resources and stuff like that. So, it's really just bringing all of those same traits. So, and that's where even besides what I'm doing professionally, which right now is exciting, I'm in a few different businesses, but specifically I'm the CEO and founder of a national company right now, and we're killing it across the board. We're just taking a lot of market share because our product is just outstanding. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? So again, it's always like I'm trying to be the best. You
Right.
know. So, but I will tell you, when you think about putting your children in the sports and things of that nature, like that's what you're hoping for, and that's why even for years I've focused so much on kids program for the last 15 years.
Yeah, you're a great coach, wrestling, MMA.
For 15 years, I've been doing the kids program, and that's brought a tremendous amount of value. But I will tell you that that is a big part of success in moving into the private sector, is having those type of traits, and they're very transferable. I just don't really know why guys struggle so hard, to be honest. It's sad.
Well, yeah, and again, I think it's a lot of people who didn't have the mentality, the never give up, the competitive drive, and that's exactly what you need. Because again, you still need to be relentless in business. You know, you need to be relentless in sales. You need to be a killer. Like, you have to have that killer instinct, and I think people never develop that if they never had a martial art or a team sport where they were really competitive. And then today's world where everybody gets a participation trophy.
It's terrible.
Absolutely terrible.
It's terrible.
You know, and that's, again, like, because it's not preparing you for the real world.
Yeah.
Where you're going to get kicked and you're not going to get helped up and you're not going to get a pat on the back. You're going to lose your job if someone's outperforming you.
Yeah.
You know, so I do think, like, the coddling, and I'm old school. Like, I look at all the old Roman and gladiator and Spartan stuff, and I like big on that philosophy, the Stoic philosophies on how you should be and how you raise children, how you raise men. And that's, I think, what you get from your career in MMA. You know, your career in the UFC. Like, you had to fight for everything you got to come up. And then now in business, you have a killer instinct above most people out there.
Yeah. No, it's like I said, it's definitely transferable, and I would like to see more guys bring that level of confidence that they have inside the ring, because I went through being a coach for almost 20 years, right? Some of that was just for children, but just recently, meaning the past 5 years or so, I stopped training adults. It was just it was stealing too much energy from me. And as we move through life, we have to reorganize kind of our daily pie and what that looks like, because you can never just fabricate extra time. You can never fabricate just extra energy. It has to be taken away from somewhere. So as I was looking at my new demand in life in this current position that I'm at, some things just had to give, and luckily right now, our mixed martial arts program is still open. Our wrestling program is. We have great people that are coming in to assist with that, but it's time for other people's journey. Like I left my mark there.
Right.
I am moving permanently to Florida by the end of the month, which I'm really excited about.
I'm a little jealous.
Yeah. I'm loving it.
That's where Jennifer and I want to, actually, we want to get there.
So, but tons of opportunity for my family personally, but also it's almost like I've had a lot of these chapters in my life where I was in the military for a long time, fought, had different businesses, promotional companies and stuff like that. But I feel like this is actually staging me for the next best part of my life.
Yeah. And
I'm really excited about that. I'm really excited for the growth and the restructure. A little hard for me because I'm a person of habit, but again, when we really look at what's important to us and we really dissect that daily pie that we have, that's what drives my decision-making process, really.
Yeah.
So it's almost a necessity that I go out there and reestablish, refocus, and kind of strategically put some things in place for that next growth.
So something I thought of too when you were talking about, you've been extremely successful. Your wrestling program, your jiu-jitsu, the kids are all performing at high levels, state champions, a lot of them. Being a coach, how has that helped you? Just like you mentioned, the mental mindset in the boardroom from coming out of the cage. How's being a coach helped you with managing people?
Yeah, so, life gives us a lot of gifts that I don't think we identify right away. Sometimes, whether they're just smaller experiences or interactions with people. But I will tell you that my position as an organizational leader, all of those years of coaching and understanding and pushing and know when to push, know when to pull back a little bit, has really helped my overall skills as a leader.
Yeah.
Where I think without those years of coaching experience, it wouldn't be that, or at least not on the level that I'm at right now. So it allows me to have a deep level of compassion. And when I look at my employees that we have in the organization, I mean, I treat them with deep love and caring and compassion. And that's the same what I have for the kids for years. You know what I'm saying? And it's just one of those deals, whether I'm a head coach at a program or, I'm the organizational leader, I'm still responsible for the outcomes.
Yeah.
So I have a certain way that I think you get those outcomes at. And I've been very successful with it. I never wrestled in college. Obviously, I'm black belt and I wrestled, that's more of my fighting style for years. But, it's funny because we've had a very good wrestling program, one of the top in the state for many, many years, and largest in size as well. But at the end of the day, we didn't have a lot of the accolades that some of the other programs had. We didn't have 3 Division I coaches in there or anything like that. But really what it came down to was my format that I kind of used for just being a competitor. Mm-hmm. So, it was funny because I think it really baffled a lot of the local coaches here in Louisiana because they really didn't understand our secret sauce. But it was really, I would say 99% of that was based around mentality. And that was a big focal point of my program.
I know, and Ashley's only been wrestling a couple of years, but I remember when I'd watch, I'd see who he's going up against. When I'd see the I felt like these kids are tougher and grittier when they come on the mat. That's the one thing I saw. Even the ones who aren't as skilled, but they're a little tougher, a little grittier, a little harder than some of the other kids from some of the other.
Yeah, and that's how I was when I competed.
Yeah,
We didn't have. You got to think if you rewind the clock here in Louisiana, there was no Dustin Poiriers or any of these guys that came out here. There was me. You know what I'm saying? So when we look back at who my training partners were, who was my instructor, all of those things they were non-existent. So. I tell competitors this all the time, right? I love it. You're going to have, one way or another, someone's going to have an advantage over you, whether it's technique, whether it's strength, whether it's speed, or whether it's overall conditioning, right? So one of those things, you can't control, if someone's more technical than you at a sport, it's very hard to control that, right?
Right.
But the one thing that you can control, you have complete control over, is the amount of intensity and veracity you bring to a situation, right? And the thing is that a lot of people, when it comes to super high level veracity, super high level intention, right? That makes people get real shaky and real uncomfortable if they're not used to dealing with that. And most people kind of retract a little bit.
Yeah.
And that is one thing that it doesn't matter how good you are, how bad you are at athletics. That is one thing you could totally lie to yourself about, and you could instantly check in and be that person.
Yeah.
There's absolutely nothing deciding to do that. But again, that goes back to that 5 minutes prior.
Right.
It takes a lot of reinforceable talk to kind of check into that person. But when you do it, and you almost, and I hate that word tricking your brain, because obviously that's who you want to be. But at the end of the day, even if you're able to convince yourself that now you have checked into that form of competitor, it's so empowering, It's special.
It just hit me too, because that play, I think I read it, I think it was Elon Musk who said it. And he was talking about the trait of their best performers or the highest performers. And he said it wasn't intelligence, it wasn't skills, it was toughness and the ability to endure pain. Yeah. So you saw that too. Yeah. The ability to endure, just like he's I failed, I was almost bankrupt, I'd been rejected. Most people would have quit before Tesla or SpaceX ever got to where it was if he didn't have relentless ability to deal with pain and failure and rejection
and just keep pushing forward. So I think that's kind of the same thing, like what you just said.
And that's in your personal life too. I mean, that's where I think that's where a lot of men break, right? Is like they're able to either handle it professionally or personally, but when both of those things are rough at the same time, that really determines who you are as a man. I think that is the one thing. Like people in today's society, they're like, "Oh, I'm a man." Well, can you protect your family if you walk outside and someone threatens them? No, you're not a man in my book. You know what I'm saying? Like, are you able to move forward in certain situations when others cannot? No, I don't feel.
Yeah.
Like I have a high standard for that work.
Yeah.
And all of those things, I mean, they're super critical. And at the same token, like, even my boys are a little different. I raised my sons to be a little different than the pro quo, right? But at the end of the day, I look at it like they're moving into an environment where a lot of young men are extremely coddled. They're not challenged. They don't know how to go through the fire.
Right.
And the cool thing is I look at it like, wow, I tell my boys all the time, like, if you can't succeed in today's environment, right? I mean, it should be for the picking for you guys, and that's how I raise them, So
Asher's heard that many times.
it's the truth, man. It's the truth, and unfortunately, in households that don't believe in that, like at the end of the day, look, I know it might be a little off topic, but excuse me. No, I'm all right. Just got back from Miami and I caught a little funk while I was down there. So great trip though. But it was weird, and I remember Richie, my oldest son, who's like 19 right now, but he was maybe like 6 or 7, and I am a huge World War II buff. It is my favorite time in American history.
Okay. I
don't think America will ever be as good as it was during World War II. I mean, the sacrifice, just everything, right? It's just beautiful. But, I had this thought, and I really don't know what sparked it, but I was like, imagine being a parent during that time period where your child gets drafted at 17, 18, and you knew that whatever you did as a parent, that may determine if you get to see him or her again.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And when I had that, my mindset shifted from like, hey, like I need to take care of this child, to I need to dump everything that I know into this child as quickly as possible, so that if that day was ever to happen,
they can survive.
Well, not just that.
I mean, prepared on the battlefield.
But there's something even worse than that, and that's imagine being that parent that has to live with if your child doesn't come home, that you didn't do what you needed to do.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a death sentence to me within itself. Like, I couldn't emotionally handle that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's always been my philosophy to children. That's why I push them. Oh, they can't do that. They shouldn't be doing that. I get it. That's your philosophy. It's not mine.
Right.
And I'll still stand by that. And we've had our ups and downs because they've been put in a lot of situations that they probably weren't ready for. But luckily, it's still under my supervision, so they're allowed to make those mistakes while, I'm still parenting them instead of on their own when it really counts.
If people don't know, your kids are multiple-time state champions. Your kids are big in the church. Like, I've met them. They're good young men. They're not just good athletes. Like, they are like really high quality, high caliber, high character young men. And so what you did worked.
Yeah.
And we follow very similar philosophies.
Well, we don't know yet. We still got a few more years.
But so far, everything is tracking really well.
Yeah.
And we do both, I think, have a lot of those, what in today's world are almost, more extreme, but I think they're fundamental. They were fundamental values for millennia. And now they're considered extreme, which is ridiculous. Just like the toxic masculinity term is a ridiculous term.
Yeah, I'm as toxic as they get. Exactly.
And our boys, I want my boys to be as toxically masculine as humanly possible.
Yeah.
Because again, they're men and they need to be men.
Yeah.
But Asher and I had that same conversation. We have a lot of conversations. Like when you said how they're making this next generation super soft, and you understanding. He talks business with me like an adult. He asks questions about how the mortgage business works. How does this work? How do we make money? How we get paid? We talk about like really deep philosophical things, mindset. Like we're watching stuff on discipline this week, listening to YouTube and what is discipline and why it matters and how it applies to everything you do. And so he gets it. You know?
And that's what, I think even with today's youth sports, right? And this is a subject I need to stay on all day long, to be honest. I'm so passionate about it because it is the next generation and it is what forges them moving forward. But a lot of times, I think youth sports even today has lost sight of somewhat of what the whole reason and the catalyst that should be involved in going through that journey, right? And what I mean by that is that, back in the day, there was such a high level of standard for performance, and it was all about the amount of discipline, right? It was not like if you showed up, if practice was at 7 a.m. in the morning and you showed up 7:02,
you're running.
You're running 100 times. It doesn't matter how hot it is, heat index, all this crap that's out there now, right? Like that's what you did, and it taught us a certain level of responsibility.
Yeah.
A lot of that's being stripped out because of the sensitivity in today's environment, right? So they don't have that same type of high standard. And what parents are losing sight of is that they're looking at the kid as just playing a sport, or participating.
It's just a game.
Yeah, it's just right.
That's the wrong.
But they don't understand that the sport itself is a stage, right? You're basically putting your child on a stage to identify and show the reflection of who they are. So it doesn't matter what sport it is, whether it's soccer, which I hate, baseball, I also don't like, but I just don't think they push it away. That shit. Sorry, guys. But anyway, they're not understanding that every single thing is the reflection of who their kid is. So if they see a deficit, it's not really a deficit of how they throw the ball or are they aiming the bat at the right angle or anything like that. It's actually about paying attention to detail. It's about those fundamentals. And that's where the parents are sitting back, having beers with their buddies, just watching their kids and stuff like that, instead of being hyper-focused, hyper-intentional of really what's going on, to use that because here's the deal, right? Specifically in today's society. We all know, I think wrestling is the toughest sport for a kid to join in.
Most people agree now.
Everything about it's rough. From the first time you step in the room, right? How intimidating is that, right? Hey, Johnny, go put your shoes on, and you're going to go with that kid with the green mohawk over there, and we're going to see how your first day is going to go. So it's going to be terrible. So to be in such a hostile environment for a kid, they don't get that anymore. But what you're going to be able to do is you're going to get a whole basket of things that you're going to be able to analyze and use as tools to forge your character in conversations that would never be identified any other place. Yeah. You're not going to do it. You don't know how fearful your kid is. You don't know if they have anxiety to perform in front of people, like or talk in front of people, right? And that is a big part of our program. Like I'll make random kids pull the warm up, do the coaching, like junior coach and stuff like that. Yeah. But all of those I look at building blocks into. And what's funny,
leadership.
My oldest son, he'll teach at colleges sometimes, and I'll have the coaches come up and they'll be like, man, he coaches better than some of our staff coaches. Yeah. But it's because I've been having him do it since he's been a little tiny, you know what I'm saying? But his confidence, it's very identifiable. Yeah. And we talk about children going into the real world, like, hey, if your kid doesn't have those skills, some kid like mine's just going to come in and he's going to sop up that opportunity. 100%. That's just the truth, Yeah. So I really wish that parents would take a step back and really be more intentional and mindful of why because you're just wasting time for the family and you're creating divide in your own family because you could be taking that time doing family trips and stuff like that. So if you're not super intentional, like you might as well just do something else. Go on family time or something.
Right. I think you nailed it. Like the bigger lesson, it's not that one game because some kids just don't have great athleticism.
Yeah.
And they're never going to be a great athlete. Some kids just, there's one Tom Brady who overcame not being a great athlete and became athletically talented. But ultimately, sometimes your genetics will just limit you. But if they get the mental lesson and they understand, like you said, all the things that come from that.
Are they trying to improve?
Yeah.
Do they know what 100% effort is?
Yeah.
Are they fearless going in that? Like, hey, I know I'm going to get my ass kicked, but am I going there with my chest and chin up ready to take it on the chin, you know?
There's a little kid that is on the wrestling team at Catholic that started lifting weights with Asher and I. And he's 90 pounds, and he's very undersized. He wrestled 8th grade last year. He didn't win a single match. And the other night I was in the gym because his mom, had him working out with us a bit. The other night I was in the gym and I called it. I said, Muscle Milk's at the gym by himself. And I was like, I freaking love that. You know, like that kid hasn't quit. He doesn't have the size. You know, he's lacking like the strength at that level. And yet he's in there on his own training extra. Like I said, that made me so proud to see that kid in the gym at 8 o'clock at night by himself. I go, Muscle Milk, why'd you call me? He's like, oh, my mom dropped me off. And I was like, yeah, dude. I was like, let me know if you want some help or anything, or if you need me to spot you. You know, like it was so cool to see that. And because most kids, you go 0 and 20, they're quitting.
Yeah. And the parents let them. That's the worst part.
Yeah.
I tell them all the time, I'm like, look, when a new kid comes into my program, I tell the parents, I'm like, look, if you're looking to get like great pictures of your son showing that he's doing something for Facebook, probably not the place to be right now. Go join so-and-so's dojo down the road, you know what I'm saying?
Cobra Kai.
Put a nice yellow belt on him, you know, do all that.
Miyagi-Do. That's Miyagi-Do.
Yeah. Not the place for that, you know, but that's funny.
Oh, God. So, you know, but the mindset of the kids, and then, like you said, business. You've done phenomenal. Let's talk about, like, what does your day look like? Like, as a, you know, going from UFC to coaching, like, how do you run your day? Like, you're running multiple businesses. We're working on a new business. Like, how does someone organize all that? Because I think a lot of business people struggle with overload.
Yeah.
And dysfunction and disorganization. And I notice, like, when I hear you, I hear the passion when you talk about your employees and that, you know, like that coach, like you're really passionate about it and you get excited. I see your expression light up, like you're very into your business, and you're also extremely in tune with all of the details, which I know is one of my weaker areas sometimes with like intricate details.
Yeah, so medicine in general is a tough space to be in because you are responsible for all foreseen and unforeseen circumstances, right? So that alone, like just that one statement, basically it's stating you're liable for everything, whether you're aware or not, right? So that alone pushes me in a level of excellence that I know I always have to be looking to grow. So there's a fundamental thought that comes with that really just challenges me every day. Like I know that every day I go in that I'm never going to know everything, right? So it's just this push to constantly be the best that I can. So that sits really well and resonates with me. Also, too, I'm in a position with a company where, you know, we have massive amount of growth. So it's very exciting. It's firing off dopamine for me. So a lot of the same feelings I have with my current position. Now, what was terrible for me at the beginning, a part of creating this opportunity that I currently have is that, you know, I felt like, I don't know if you remember from the original Incredibles, remember when he got that desk job and he's sitting there like that, you know? That was 1000% me, right? And I struggled with that a little bit, you know? Luckily now I'm in a space where I get to have a little bit more excitement, but that building phase, you know, I consider it to like a farmer, you know, like the farmer's got to go out there, he's got to do what he's got to get done, and regardless of outcome, you know, and that's another thing too in today's society when we look at it. I would say that thought process is probably the number one thing being stripped away from the mindset of individuals. Everything is short gain. Everything's what happened last. You know, we got to jump on to the next thing.
Yeah.
And I have done a lot of things in business where I have planted seeds and know that no time soon are they going to bring me fruit, or give me harvest.
Yeah.
And sometimes they don't grow at all, but I do a lot of investment into myself, into my ideas, where I put that away and hopefully it comes to fruition. But that goes with relationships, a lot of different things I uphold still. They might not be giving me any type of reward currently, but I would say that's the part a lot of people miss, and that's why I think a lot of people don't get to the point. They have great concept, they have great idea.
Yeah.
Some of them can even execute, but they don't have the long game.
For delayed gratification.
For delayed gratification. And
That-
anything great, that's going to be required.
That's one, again, we keep going back to the kids and just like the mindset. And that's the problem today is everything. I mean, my mom, we were poor growing up, and I remember my mom putting a leather jacket on layaway for the winter.
Yeah.
Some Jordans on layaway.
Like summertime.
Yeah, school shoes we had to put on layaway, and then mom would go put $10 on layaway, put payments on a pair of shoes growing up. I didn't just get to walk in and pick out 2 different pairs of freaking Jordans that, I want the black and the white.
Yeah.
Or Amazon, you order something and it's there fucking same day now, which is insane, with a drone dropping it off at you. It's like a sci-fi movie.
Yeah.
But like there's no delayed gratification, and it is stripping people of some of that mental resiliency and ability to wait.
Yeah.
Just like the dopamine hits from Instagram, getting the likes and the comments, and my wife and I, we talk about a lot of people we know that just they're so starved for attention.
Yeah.
And it's like they've got to constantly posting selfies and posting stuff to get noticed. Like if they don't have that, it's like
There's a part of them missing almost.
Yeah. And it's a terrible thing,
Yeah.
and it's so common today. And like you said, that is because everyone needs that immediate gratification. And again, wrestling, you definitely don't get it. Sports, a lot of times, very few people, are just genetically gifted. So you have to grind to get that first win, to get that first submission, to get the first, Asher finally, like he lost in state and then he won Greco and freestyle in state. But to get, he 110% focused, and then to come in second, it's tough. It's a tough pill to swallow. I don't know what's worse, like coming in second or like eighth. Second's a tough place to be. We talked about that. He came on the show one day, but it made him hungrier. It didn't beat him. It didn't defeat him. Like he's like coming back stronger, coming back harder.
And that's where the parental influence is. I call them dinner time conversations, And there's kids that I've had to let out of my program because I've told their parents, I'm like, look, I can't go against your dinner time conversations and your own household, the way that you guys operate and stuff like that. It's just, It's so opposite of what I'm doing. I'm just banging my head here, wasting my time as coach. And I don't want to do that for you guys either,
Right.
So, but it is true. But it's interesting, that's what free will is. And, again, maybe our kids wouldn't have the opportunities they're gonna if it wasn't for other people that had different mindsets. So I'm okay with it.
I joke with Asher. I was like, if everyone was a 1%er, we wouldn't be different.
Agree. Yep.
Yeah. No. I do. I see so many great lessons, like great coaches like you. One of his other coaches the other day, it was just such a subtle little thing, but we were at a wrestling tournament, and I hear him talking to a kid, and he goes, "Did you make your bet this morning?" And the kid goes, "Well, no, why?" He goes, "Because how you do anything is how you do everything." And that's one of I love that quote. And like that philosophy, and I harp on my kids. I'm like, your car's dirty.
Yeah.
If anyone who knows me, I'm a car fanatic, and they're never dirty. I'm like, you need to clean your car. Clean your bathroom, clean your bed. Like but those are just those little daily disciplines of, not hard on them about it, but I'm just assertive. I'm like,
your car looks like crap. Your car looks like crap.
Yeah. No, and I think we all could be reminded of that daily. And even though that's one of my own pillars, I mean, we had an evaluation of our company. Big venture capital group came in just to look at us and stuff, and that was probably the best compliment I've gotten in 2 years. He's like, look, I really don't even have to look into this any deeper, because I can just tell on every single thing, every detail that exists here, that this is just who you guys are.
Yeah.
And that's why I focus on a lot of the small stuff. I spend a lot of money on just trying to make sure that everything is the best that I can possibly make it, And that's my attitude in my house too. Like, me and my wife probably have some conflict when it comes to the kids, but at the same token, there's supposed to be conflict between, the husband and the wife as far as what we bring to the children.
And building them.
And the more you want one, and this is a big pillar for me as well too, the more you want to try to squeeze out one of those, you have to equally offset the other. Like, you cannot have imbalance there. So if you're really pushing hard and you're really squeezing, you gotta have the opposite side of it. Mm-hmm. So I am grateful that we do have that in our household, which surely does create conflict as well. So.
we joke. Jen and I pick at each other every now and then, and a yin and a yang. And,
yeah.
she picks up after them, cleans up after them, does their laundry, and she's doing too much. I'm like, you're doing too much for these freaking kids. You're making them soft. You're making them,
If my wife's watching this, I think we have the same conversation.
But again, if that's the worst of it, that's a good, ultimately, we parent great. Our kids have all, we've been very blessed to have amazing kids. So what we're doing is obviously doing well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just on that hard, level of they've got to be independent.
Yeah.
I'm a real pusher on that, because again, what if something happens to us tomorrow? Or like you said, God forbid they reinstate the draft.
Yeah.
Anything like that. I know my kids are prepared. Whereas most people don't.
And look, I want to also take a second, and this was not pre-planned, but I am such a believer in what you guys are doing here. I do think it's important to discuss, and I do want to, even my own personal journey, I think it might bring value to people. One thing for people that do know me, I wear it all on my sleeve. I look at anything that's happened to me in my life is purposeful to bring me to this point I am today.
Yeah.
So I never mind talking about any experience, bad or good. But also, too, I think a lot of people get, they're afraid to be vulnerable about things that kind of don't go out in their life. I look at it like that's how you take control of that vulnerability.
Yeah.
Right? I don't allow fear to move me around. I grab it by the neck and say, hey, come walk with me a little bit, and I'm going to utilize it as a tool. But, what you guys are doing here with your peptide program and stuff is just outstanding. I was really glad that we got to dive in deep on that.
Yeah.
And we have some other discussions as well. But I'll tell you, even myself, from years of competing, just so broken down,
Right.
And I'll tell you that, I'm also a very stubborn person, and I'm like, oh, it doesn't matter. And that's what a lot of men, we're conditioned to think that way. I'll just move forward, right? Especially if you're one that's made out of the same cloth. And the problem is that as you age, right? I just turned 50 last month. Holy crap! I never thought I'd say that. Never thought I'd make it this far, really.
Right.
But,
outlived a lot of people when you grew up around.
Oh, that's a fact. But at the end of the day, that. It really, mentally, I am still the same person, right? And I've been in pain management a long time. What's crazy is I'll deal with 70 or 80-year-old patients sometimes, and we specialize in intrathecal pumps, so they're implantable pumps that treat chronic pain or things like that. But many of these conversations I've had over the year, many of those patients are stuck in a time warp, and everything they're talking about is when they're 27, 26. Right? It's crazy.
Because they haven't been able to do anything for so long.
Well, not just that, but your mind never adapts or accepts who you are today. And I'll tell you, I've kind of went through that the last few years, and it's tough because my body's so broken down. I have skeletal instability. I've had, cervical surgery 2 years ago. Multiple issues, and I was just like, oh, I'll just keep moving forward. And The problem with that type of attitude is that you're not bringing the highest percent of yourself to the table in almost every single interaction, right? So whether it's, playing with your kids, whether it's your energy level, whether it's, how much inflammation you have in your joints, whether it's like my ankles are so cooked, like they're terrible. Like they won't do surgery on it because every single tendon is messed up.
Right.
It's just like, we're just going to want to throw another tendon off and we just work on this one, So he's like, just ride it till, the wheels fall off on it. But at the end of the day, like, because of my feet being so bad, like I've always struggled with cardio. Obviously I eat pretty well for the most part, but still not really where I want to be weight-wise and stuff like that, So with some of the new resources that are out there, I mean, for guys who are, again, I would say really anywhere between 40 up, it really behooves you not to at least find out some information.
I'm excited for you now starting your peptide protocol and seeing your results, and again, like you said, seeing how your ankles feel, your joints, overall, over the next 6, 12, 18 weeks, like your progress. I'm anxious to hear how you're feeling, because like I said, I know from experience, like lots of injuries, knee surgeries, shoulder surgery, that it has absolutely improved my quality of life. And my ability to just do day-to-day functional activities and weight training and everything.
And again, talking about like, thinking you're still that guy that you were. I mean, we went to a UFC gym together in New Jersey on a business trip, and that was a pretty good experience for me. But what's funny, I went to Mike Lee's got huge MMA gym, the Jungle it's called, out in Orlando.
Yeah.
And they had 35 pro fighters in there, and I'm like, I'll jump in there, and oh my God, did I get humbled quickly. I mean, it's just definitely not even close, not even a shadow of who kind of I used to be. You know what I'm saying? So there's such a deficit that comes with age that really anything you could, because age is a disease. People don't understand that, and every day it deteriorates. So to not do the things you need to do to try to offset that and try to recover as much as possible. I mean, you're really also not only just from feeling the way that you do and stuff like that, but you're actually losing out on life, because all of those things, like from not being able to participate, from not feeling good, from maybe being a little heavier in weight, all of those, and not being able to participate, like all of those things are stealing life from you. So when you talk about like the things that you guys offer here in Baton Rouge and some of the other technologies that are out there, I can't, again, you're a middle-aged guy, like you need to explore some of the opportunities, because they will be life-changing for you.
It is, I can say from experience, it's life-changing. I went from, tore my pec in 2020 at 40 years old to no bench press, no barbell, nothing for 5 years.
Yeah. How embarrassing is that, too? Dude, I'm going in the gym right now. Two plates, I'm like, it's so embarrassing.
I have trophies and plaques at my mom's house and at our house. Bench press competition winner to now I can't even do the bar because it hurts my shoulder. Like kind of like you.
Yeah.
UFC friggin' at the highest level, almost a UFC champion at one time. I mean, to like you said, these local pro guys, and you're freaking worn out. Like it's humbling, like you said, Father Time's undefeated. But now, the other day, Asher, we were in the gym and shoulder feels good. Dude, I was repping 225 like it was no tomorrow. He's like, how many can you do, Dad? I was like, I don't know, but we're going to go for, I said, we're going to see if Daddy can get 20 or 25.
Nice.
Like legit reps.
And that's still a small, for your age and stuff, for my age, that's actually a very small percentage of the nation.
To even lift it once.
Yeah, I have no idea. That's what I'm saying. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it's actually surprisingly low.
I didn't realize it was that low either, because I guess we were around a bunch of meatheads.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that low in my circle. But like I told him the other day, like I legit did 25 to 30 reps on decline. But we're gonna do flat bench together. But I couldn't even do flat bench at all without just total discomfort and pain for 5 years.
Yeah.
And now
I'm saying,
I guarantee you, I did 15 the other day without breaking a sweat, with no spot, and it was just clean and easy. I guarantee I'm gonna get more than 20 reps, and that's from peptides.
Yeah.
That's not from steroids. I'm not on any gear. You know, like it's because my shoulder's healthy again.
Yeah.
You know, it was never a problem. I could bench over 400 pounds at 180 at one time.
Well, people don't understand just inflammation in general.
It's
It's
awful.
probably the most debilitating thing to the human body. That includes your gut. I mean, not only functionality, lower back pain. I mean, inflammation, I think, is the most damaging thing to the human body.
It's one of the most intelligent doctors that we're in a group with, and he talks about, like, there's 3 biological failures that are the root cause of every disease. Cancer, heart, everything. And one of those 3 biological failures is chronic inflammation. And it is the root cause of 80% of your diseases and issues. Like, if you can reduce inflammation in the body, it's a cure-all. Like, it really is. Like, that alone, and there's so many peptides that are great for inflammation that it changes everything.
Yeah.
Like you said, gut health. And then your gut, people forget your gut controls
Everything.
your mood, your body. Like,
We both have wives, so
we need to understand the body and how to keep a healthy marriage.
yeah.
So, you know, we definitely both got really good-looking brunette wives. So, shout out to our wives. We definitely did well. We outdid ourselves there for sure. But like, it does, like, your body, everything. And so, I had a patient. We were on a Zoom call the other day, and he goes, "Yeah, man, I'm finally on the bandwagon. For the longest time, I thought it was cheating or it was steroid." I go, "You're not in the fucking Olympics, so what do you?" I said, "You're only cheating yourself."
Yeah.
I was like, "How's it cheating?" You know, like, come on, dude. Like, this isn't like you're on a bunch of fucking Winstrol and you're going to run 100 meters against a guy who's not on anything.
Yeah.
Like, no, dude, you're a 40-year-old dude.
You're talking about functionality, daily functionality.
Yeah, and your testosterone's low, so you need TRT.
Yeah.
That's not juicing, that's not on gear. Like, your body's natural testosterone, because if you don't have testosterone, again, you're not healthy. You got a list much longer of heart health, respiratory problems, chronic, even Alzheimer's. They've shown reduction in that from increased testosterone, because again, people with healthy high levels of testosterone, less cognitive decline.
And believe it or not, a lot of football players and specifically fighters, they actually historically have lower testosterone because what's it, the pituitary gland that produces testosterone, is it?
Wow, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so they get damage to their gland that helps produce testosterone. So over a period of time, they've linked those activities to low testosterone.
Because you would think those guys have the higher test
You would
levels.
think
'Cause
when
you're more
I
aggressive.
tell people my testosterone is down to 112, they like lose their mind. They're like, "How did you function?"
Yeah, it's terrible.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
But again, what do we do as men? We're told to move forward. And of course, what
And we were
happens.
lied to about TRT causing heart attacks and cancer and all kind of other bullshit that wasn't true.
Yeah.
So people were scared to be on testosterone for any long period of time. And now we're learning that was all false.
And you got to think, right? For all that struggle, that's unnecessary. That's how I look at it. It's unnecessary.
Yeah.
For all that struggle, you're creating just the not best version of yourself. So, are you a little more snappy? Are you a little more tired when you're home? Are you disengaging from your family? I know, because I was that guy. I only have so much to give before I'm completely on E.
Yeah.
So if you could give me a reserve tank that I could tap into a little bit and push a little bit harder.
And the philosophy is like, you do. I mean, like, you owe it to your kids, because they don't know that you had a hard day at work.
Yeah.
They're just thrilled that daddy's home.
100%.
And if you just go and curl up on the couch and have a beer and don't even have anything left in the tank for them, like, you're shorting them.
Yeah.
So if this can give you that energy and that comfort to where your back's not hurting, your knees, your ankles. I remember you texted me after we got back from New York, because we went and walked.
Oh no, this dude.
He's still.
Now you're getting me. We'll probably finish up with this, because
He owes me an ass whipping.
I'm gonna lose my shit on this conversation. This guy Right, nice day of sightseeing all around New York. Had a good dinner, right, on top of
World
the World
Trade
Center. Yeah, it's beautiful. And this guy's like, "Hey, I want a slice before I." Now I'm from New Jersey, so I'm like,
My dad was born in the Bronx. I haven't been to New York since I was 10 years old.
Listen, I get it, but he's like, we're in downtown, and he's like, we're getting ready to go back, and he's like, I just want a slice. This adventure for a slice probably took a total of like an hour and a half afterwards. So much so we're at the train station taking the A train back to New Jersey, the last one of the day, and we're like late for it, right? So we're like running all over the place. My ankle's screaming, I could barely walk. Kill this guy for a slice, right? But that just shows you how much I like and respect what you do, baby. Because I wouldn't have done that. When I told my wife that story, she's like, "No, you didn't, Rich."
She was dying.
She knows how firm I am on stuff like that. I'd been like, "Hey, see you later. I'm back at the cab," you know.
I was cracking up when I got the text the next day, and you're like, "My fucking ankles! I am kicking your ass the next time I see you."
And a busy day, I had to like do something important. I remember like walk all around, and I could barely walk, right? So, but and those are things, right? Like when we talk about real men, we're gonna always push forward. We're always gonna do what we need to do. So to be able to take the sting off of some of that in a little different area,
Life changer.
to look better, you know, when you're out at the pool and stuff like that. Whatever that might be, all of that stuff, man, is it is life changing.
Well, think about it. I mean, you were a world-class athlete. You used to run miles to get ready for a fight.
Yeah.
Conditioning. We shouldn't be in pain from walking an afternoon around New York City. Like, that's the unfortunate.
I think anybody would have been as far as we had to walk. It wasn't that bad.
But it shouldn't hurt us. Like, and after a few months of the peptides, I think you'll be fine.
Yeah, no, I'm excited about it. It's just great work you guys are doing.
No, that's awesome. I appreciate you coming on. Like I said, you and I could talk sports, fighting, parenting, coaching all day long. I know these guys got to get to their weekend. We do love and appreciate all you guys that watch Financial Fitness every week. You guys stay tuned next week. There'll be more, and we'll definitely have Rich back on because he's got so much awesome stuff. I love talking with this guy.
Yeah, we'll snag Richie maybe next time. Do some fathers.
Oh, yeah, get the kids. Yeah, that'd be great. We'd love to have the boys on because they, I think, have a lot to share with the younger generation.
100%.
And a lot of insight that they can bring. So, again, thank you guys. Tune in next week, and y'all have a great week.